Now, of course, the assassination attempt on Mr. Trump will have reverberations for the US political system. We are heading towards an election. We are at the beginning of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee today. There is a lot of talk on how this event could change the shape of US politics. US politics is, of course, already in a world of divisive and polarised opinions. Well, let's cross live now and speak to Angelia Wilson, a politics professor at University of Manchester. And I think your upcoming book is called The Politics of Hate, How the Christian Right Darkened America's Political Soul. I'm not going to ask you specifically about your book, but I know that you've done research into what has divided US politics. Do you think the events of Saturday evening are going to make this better or worse?
Thank you very much for having me. On the first thing I want to say is I want to applaud both Trump and Biden for calling for unity and for trying to lower the temperature of political rhetoric. I don't think that that particular message will break through to the supporters, both on the far right or the far left. What we saw, the iconic image that we saw of Trump raising his hand and shouting, "Fight, fight, fight," and then his immediate social media response after the event very much continued in that oppositional language. That has, as your reporter has pointed out, been repeated by MAGA supporters and by those on the left, but particularly interesting that Marjorie Taylor Greene, a member of Congress, has been tweeting that Democrats are evil. Well, when you get to that level of political rhetoric, you cannot expect that voters or those involved in politics, whether or not they vote, are going to dial up that rhetoric even more. America at this moment is a tinderbox. I hope that things will calm down and this will be a bit of a wake-up call.
Do you think
we're headed into the Republican National Convention and afterwards the Democratic National Convention? Both conventions are designed to rally the troops, and it is completely normal that there's a lot of othering language, that there's a lot of trying to get across that the other is going to be some sort of threat. I do not expect Biden or Trump to participate in that language, but I would absolutely expect those on the platform to do that. That's what normally happens in a convention. Again, what will happen in 2 or 3 weeks' time? After a convention, the candidate gets a bump in the polls, and it'll be very difficult to see if Trump's bump in the polls is going to be about the convention or about this particular assassination.
Let me ask you about the polls. Do you think this is going to have an impact on the polls long term moving forward?
I think it will have an immediate impact on the polls over the next 2 or 3 weeks, but we're, just now into July, and in American politics, November is a very, very long way away. I think it'll be interesting to see who the vice presidential candidate's going to be. It'll be interesting to see what happens next, not necessarily by the candidates or the campaigns, but what happens next in terms of those supporters. MAGA supporters have been known to be violent, obviously on January 6th and at other occasions. So I would, unfortunately, not be surprised if that continues to happen. I hope it doesn't.
Okay. Well, it's been really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for talking to us, Professor Angelia Wilson from the University of Manchester.